I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to the Stormwater Appeals and Advisory Board July 10th, 2019 meeting at 6 p.m. We do have a quorum. First item of business is to approve the meeting minutes from the November 12th, 2018 meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
Mary Jane Skinner make a motion, we accept the minutes as read.
We have a motion to accept. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. First item of business, waterway buffer variance, Ahmed S. Omar, property located between 143 Elm Street and 201 Nelson Drive, tax map 17M, Group C, parcel 23.01. Ma'am.
So basically what we have here is Mr. Omar has requested a buffer variance. When this was replatted, this used to be one parcel, and it's been split into two now, and this piece was sold off. So when the gentleman came through to do the survey to update the plat to split the parcel, he noted this body of water as Finch Branch. Well, we have in our city ordinance a 60-foot stream buffer on any of our waterways. This is actually a tributary to Finch Branch. Finch Branch is off to the west just a little bit, and then they both run north and meet up here. So it is a tributary to Finch, but it's going to run in wet weather conditions only, whereas the actual creek will run all the time. So what the gentleman's asking for is that we take that buffer from 60 down to 30. 30 is what the state would require. We, when a few years ago, adopted our ordinance, we kind of beefed it up because both of our creeks that we see the most construction on, they're impaired. And so impaired streams do have a 60-foot preferred buffer. But this wouldn't really qualify for that. So as far as the state is concerned, they would allow this to be a 30-foot, no problem. So just in my opinion, I don't see a problem with giving the gentleman that leeway to come within 30 feet of the top of the bank. To do that, the reason he needs that is because to meet the offset or the buffer and all the offsets required by codes, he can't get the home on the property. You can see it's kind of an interesting shape the property is. So he can't fit it, the home and maintain that 60-foot stream buffer plus all the offsets required. So here's the 60 feet. So it would just be this line would just come back to here, and he would be able, he'd have that much more room to build. So he would have better success getting a structure in here. I think that makes good sense. If there are any questions, you can let me know. No, it obviously doesn't affect elevations. It doesn't affect floodplain. It doesn't affect any of that. The only difference is how close to the creek he can build. He still can't build up in the floodplain. You know, obviously the home itself will have to be a foot above the 100-year flood elevation, but he can't build it up to block the water. That would still, none of that's going to change. All it is we're just letting him cut trees down a little closer than the plat says.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a representative for this project here this evening? If you would approach the podium and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Yeah, my name is Ahmed Omar, and address 301 John Henry Drive, Laverne, Tennessee.
Thank you, sir. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't this recently separated in planning?
Yeah, like I think maybe 8 months ago, 6 months ago.
Okay, and I thought we had kind of put a stipulation in there and possibly for the home and construction, Mr. Richardson. Do you recall that?
Year.
I was not at that meeting, so I do not know.
I think it was 1 year ago, I think.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? That was just a general statement.
So they can cut trees up to the water bank?
No, ma'am. The buffer is from the top of the bank, and right now it's 60 feet. So they have to stop 60 feet from the bank. All we're doing is letting them stop 30 feet from the bank. They're still not going to be able to go to the edge of the bank. Okay. It's just taking that down from 60 feet to 30.
But we'll be allowed to cut all the trees up to there.
Up to 30 feet.
Do you have a overhead view of the property as it currently is?
That would probably have been a great idea. But no, I do not.
You need a drone.
Huh?
You need
I need a drone.
Got a Google
Well,
Maps?
I don't know if am I connected to the internet here? No, I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, I can gladly pull it up on my phone if you would like to see it that way. It just won't be for public. I mean, that all used to be, like I said, it used to be one lot. So part of it is cleared, and then part of it is left in trees. So they would just be taking that clear line and moving it back. And again, this would have no impact on the water itself. It's not going to, and this is one structure. I might take a different approach, look at it differently if we were talking about something commercial or a large building. This is just one home, one structure. So the impact to the stream is not that great, like it would if they were putting a shopping mall there or something like that, or a Walmart. This is just one residence.
Okay, how big would the house be?
Well, you may be able to speak to this. The realtor that came and showed me, it was not a large home to begin with, but because of the offsets and the weird shape, they couldn't get it on. It was just like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. This is what the realtor showed me. Mr. Omer can correct me there.
Yeah, she trying to buy, but I think she said like 1,700 square feet.
Yeah, it was not a huge home. That sounds about right, about 1,700 square feet. And this was just the realtor coming in to see if this was even a possibility, because the lady that was looking to purchase the property, obviously she didn't want to purchase a property that she couldn't build her house on.
Right. I understand that.
Does it, do we have any utilities running through there?
Yeah.
Well, it's on Nelson Drive, so there are no utilities crossing that parcel, but I mean, it obviously has access to sewer, water,
So unearthing the trees and anything there, is it gonna change the direction to send water to someone else's property?
Not at all.
No.
They're not allowed to change the elevations. They're just allowed to clear it. The pad of the actual house, like any structure built in a floodplain, has to be a foot above the 100-year flood elevation. But they won't be allowed to regrade the yard so that they're blocking the water from coming onto them. This yard, in a heavy rain, they're going to protect their home by building at the minimum elevation, but their yard will, as it is today, it will still get wet. It's-
When I was just looking at it on Google Maps, Alderman, it looks like it's built on the bottom of a hill, is what it looks like it is. So it's more so, it's more so to do with affecting his house as far as the waterway goes, it looks like, but not really the,
The thing that we want to look out for is the protection of the homeowner in the future.
Yeah.
This gentleman is going to build this home in this floodplain, which we know water is going through. We know water can't rise to the foundation. At 60 feet, in my recollection of history of the neighborhood, the old garage that was there years ago
That's right.
would catch water.
3 feet of water.
Well, that's why they have to, the actual house itself does have to be on a pad. Their yard will still get water, just as it always has, because that's nature. But the home itself, codes ensures that when they put the pad, that they raise that elevation. So the home itself should not flood.
But how does that not redirect water?
Because we're not changing anything, all we're doing is clearing land, so it's just gonna be the pad itself, so you're talking just a very small portion that is just gonna, a house will sit on it, but the rest of the yard, how it's graded, it slopes to the creek, it's still gonna slope to the creek. And there's a ditch along Nelson, so what's coming off the street's gonna go in that ditch, that doesn't go onto their property. It just comes across, it goes north, all the contours move north. And so it's going to flow across, and it's going to hit the creek like it always has.
I just know that area,
It's terrible.
takes a lot of water.
Yeah.
And anytime you remove trees or underbrush, anything,
Or add structures in the path
But
of.
I don't think
Yeah.
there's a trees over there. I think it's clear. Maybe
They
like
will
we
have to. They will replant grass. They're, obviously they'll still have their yard and everything. And it's not super lush now. It's just the way the plat was written, because the gentleman called it a creek when it's actually a tributary. Because he called it the creek, it requires the 60 feet. In my opinion, that's actually a mistake, because it's a tributary to the creek. So in my opinion, the 60 feet wasn't really fair to begin with, the way that the surveyor had a misunderstanding. If I felt like, I mean, my job is to protect our waters, and I take that job very seriously. I would not have given Mr. Omer the recommendation if I felt like he would be doing anything that was going to in any way impact the flooding. He will have to put erosion control measures up while he's doing his construction so that no sediment gets into that creek. The lady to his left is above him, so he doesn't have to put erosion up there because the sediment's not going to go uphill. So he will still have to use erosion control measures as he's building, and then once they're done, they will still have to completely seed or sod everything. You know, everything has to be stabilized before we can give them a certificate of occupancy. So it won't impact that at all. The only part that'll be changing is the little segment, the little corner that'll be the house itself.
How far into the existing buffer will the house go?
Well, that's what the variance is, no closer than the 30 feet. But the 30 feet has, the thing about a buffer is you can't even put equipment in that buffer. So they couldn't even get into, legally, they can't get into that buffer area even to work on the house. If it was just outside of it, they still couldn't go on that side legally. So the 30 feet is just, I mean, even to run a piece of equipment through there that they need to build the home.
So will we have brick and mortar in that 30 feet?
That I can't speak to because the house plan that she showed, it's possible, but they also said they'd be willing, if there were any issues, you know, to reconfigure or whatever. But, you know, like I said, you can't even put equipment in that 60 feet, so they can't even get in and out of there to do the work. But yes, the home very well could fall within that 30-foot variance that we're having, but they cannot do anything. They can't remove one tree 30 feet from the top of the bank.
I think it's something that we can work with if we have the plan. Right now, we don't really have a plan.
We don't know what's gonna go
We
in,
just wanna-
in the spot.
We want to make
And-
pass something on we don't know where the house is going to go.
Well-
We don't know where anything's going to go. And to me, in my opinion, because all this is based on opinions, that's pretty critical. Whatever decision we make today is there, you
Well,
know.
the only difference the house would have would be the downspouts themselves, which would be pointed towards the creek.
Well,
And the way I understood it was there was a lady that was wanting to buy this property to build a home, but obviously she can't buy it unless she knows she can build a house.
But she could give us the site plan and everything else.
And she can give you, I guess she could give you the blueprint, but again, I mean, you're talking,
If we're putting in a 20-foot wide home in the buffer, that's one thing. If we're putting in a 60-foot wide home in the buffer, that's another thing.
we can only
Front to
do
back.
anything in that 30 feet, but the only thing that we can change from what we do now would be within that 30 feet.
Right.
Nothing can go 30 feet away.
What
So-
I'm saying, excuse me, what I'm saying is, as of right now, their building envelope is approximately 35 feet.
With offsets and everything, I'm not.
With offsets and everything, their front width is 35 feet. So adding another 30 feet to that at an angle really equates to about 33 feet.
Okay.
So you're putting a building envelope of approximately 68 by whatever. That's a very large home at 1,700 square foot. For that neighborhood, 1,700 square foot is a pretty good large home. Generally, your 1,700 square foot homes in that neighborhood are top and bottom.
Yeah. The
Most
base
of them are
base
under
homes in that
basements.
area is 1,200 square feet.
You know, so that's an exceptionally large lot size for that neighborhood one.
Well, I can't speak to the home, what home is or is not allowed. It is R1, and so they are allowed to build a home. I don't know what limitations there are on that. All I can speak to is that the footprint of the home is not going to cause a drainage issue. It's not going to cause more water to fall onto anyone else. This won't impact the flow of water.
So can we make a motion to defer this until we get the plans of where the home's going to go? Is that possible?
That is a realistic motion. Is that something that you could possibly do for us, is get us a,
I'm not sure because I'm just trying to see. She may build 1,000 square feet, 2,003. I'm not sure how many.
and those are details that we need to know when, if it wasn't in a stream buffer, it wouldn't be that much importance, but being in a stream buffer, if there's gonna be just like you said, we don't know what she's gonna build. She could possibly build a 4,000 square foot home on that lot, we don't know. So without any idea as to what we're actually allowing and approving, I think the best motion, as Mr. Church has said is there is a motion on the table, and we'll-
Not to deny, to defer until we,
until we can have some more information. So,
Chairman, if I may.
yes, sir. Yes, sir, please.
Quick statement. In the municipal code, in regards, I believe, to the board, it says, when considering a request for a variance, the Stormwater Appeals Advisory Board may require additional information such as, but not limited to, site design, landscape planning, fencing, the placement of signs, establishment of water quality best management practices in order to reduce adverse impacts on water quality, streams, and wetlands. So it is well within your purview to require additional information.
And in that statement, can we also put limitations on fencing, et cetera, so on and so forth in that area?
So, yeah.
So we have a motion on the table to defer until we can have a possible site plan.
Can you
Given
write
to-
for me what do you need so I can ask them? Because
Basically, what's going to be built on the property is what it is. So as of right now, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I second
We
it.
have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. This item is deferred until you bring Stormwater Department some more information to get to us, and then we'll have another meeting and look over everything.
Okay.
Perfect?
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, I would suggest, since our next scheduled meeting is for August the 12th,
Mhm.
that would be when we would have our next meeting, providing you can get that information to us in time.
you can do it at the same time?
Yeah, we would go ahead and advertise it for that
So if-
meeting.
If you can have the information to Stormwater for review, how much time do you need? About a week?
At most.
So a week before the 12th, please have all information to the Stormwater Department, and we'll proceed forward on the August 12th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
And with,
Mr. Omer, could you wait just a minute so that I may speak with you?
Mr.
Sir,
Omer,
Can you give me just a minute till the meeting's over so that I may speak with you? Yes.
and no other questions or comments? Meeting adjourned.